Are we live? What's up, everyone? I think we are live. Cool. So that means I want to check in with you guys on the chat. And thank you, by the way, for being patient with me today as we started just a minute or two late. I needed to get the last couple things set for our stream today. And I want to see what's happening here in the chat. I'm going to scroll up because it looks like we have a good amount of activity. Man, you guys make me happy to start these things off with already a big and busy group. I love that. So what I want to do is scan the chat here for questions and comments, but what I really want to know right now is anybody participating in our You Raise Me Up global piano recital? Now, this is the thing that we've been working on for, man, feels like a super long time now. A couple of months now, we've been doing the prep work and the arranging. The arrangements themselves are awesome, and we've been working with some pretty heavy hitters as well for a big collaboration that's going to happen at the end. We're going to take everyone's video submissions, no matter what level you are, and we're going to put them together into a big master recital, master performance. It's going to be awesome. Has anyone started this yet? Has anyone kicked it off? Today was day 3, so we've got rookie, intermediate, and advanced levels this time, by the way. The last time we did this with the entertainer, it was something similar to this. But we just did the one level. We did rookie. So for You Raise Me Up, we wanted to get the whole world involved. So we thought we got to do something for all levels, including kids this time. So not only do we have advanced, intermediate, and rookie, we also have what we're calling Rookie Kids, which is, you know, it's like 2 notes through the whole thing, and they have the intro and the outro. And, you know, I present things in a kid-friendly way. So we have 4 levels for this thing, and we're really excited about it. We want to hear from you guys. So any questions you have, any comments about that, I want to highlight those today. All right, so let's see here. How are we doing? Warren W. is going through allergy season. Bummer. Yet another reason to stay in, right? Man. Warren, where are you, by the way? What part of the world are you watching from? Sarah said it was great weather today. It made it hard to be stuck inside. Exactly. Hopefully everyone watching has some sort of a little, even if it's a patio or like a sidewalk, some space you can call your own outside so you can just sit outside during this time as the weather warms up. That'd be nice. Okay, all right. Warren's asking any thoughts on what to do after arranging. Might as well poll the group, Warren. You know, our composition we worked on for 2 months. Arranging, if we do it for 1 month, that time's going to fly. And in fact, since you brought that up, what I was hoping that we would do for the rest of our month is we would take today, of course, to keep working on our arrangements of Lovely Day at Home, our composition, but that we would maybe try and get to a point where we could wrap up the arrangements for the levels we've been working on, and then shift gears for the rest of the month and start talking about the arrangements in the You Raise Me Up experience for the global recital. We took a song that most people know, if not, you know, all piano students. It's very popular in this world. And we've arranged it for 4 different difficulty levels, including for kids. And each level plays a part of the larger global recital arrangement, like I mentioned. So this is actually like beyond arranging 101, right? And I also thought it would be interesting because a lot of you, maybe all of you, I hope, are going to be participating in this global recital as well. So because everyone's going to be working on a different level, I thought it would be a good opportunity to dissect and discuss and analyze and help you guys with the different levels of arrangements for You Raise Me Up. So let's talk about that, but I want to keep going through the chat here in a sec. Hey, Stu, the late night hang in the UK. I was going to say the midnight rider, but you know, you still got an hour. Sarah Pickle says, I got my daily 2 hours of practice. Man, that's awesome. What were you working on, Sarah? Have you started the You Raise Me Up? Okay, just catching up with you guys. Hey, Camille. All right, Stu's saying life is good. By the way, Stu's been doing a lot of composing and arranging of his own. Check out some of the work he's been doing on his personal pages, doing some composing for film, some scoring, and some other cool stuff. Always love to share the the music that's being made in our community, right? That's pretty cool. Charles Smith spent most of last week figuring out a VTS. Then I lost a wrestling match with a tripod. Turns out I need an extension arm for overhead shots. Hey, you're telling me, man, that, you know, every day is a struggle with the gear. There's always something that wants to cut out. It seems like more than half the time in these lessons, one of my cameras cuts out. It's the good fight, you know. Good luck to you. What else is everyone doing? Hey, Uncle Rabbit, haven't seen you in a minute. Uncle Rabbit saying, you raised me up, big fun so far, stretching myself on the intermediate version. That's great to hear. Camille saying, advanced day 3 completed. Sweet. All right, we're already getting some different levels. Charlotte Ward, Char is my daughter at home. She's 12, and she is also participating in the challenge. Char, let us know how it's going, and maybe you guys can chat about it if you're having any problems with it. And if not, that's cool too. If you are, I could also come home later and help you out myself. So, okay, awesome. So Camille says, also trying to encourage my 6-year-old to do the kids stuff. Please do. I think it would be great. And this is one of the newer things for Playground Sessions, is offering something for kids specifically. So we'd love your feedback, especially if you sit and were to watch it and learn it with your 6-year-old. That'd be great. All right. Gail's saying, you missed it. You'll check it out. Yeah, please do. At the end of this thing, 30 days or so from when we launched, we're going to be asking everyone to submit their videos, and we're going to edit a huge video. If you guys have seen one of these before, where you have a bunch of different people in little windows kind of playing. Sometimes it'll cut to where you see 4 people, or 100 people, or 20 people, and it's going to go through all of the submissions that we get. So everyone that submits is going to get, at least for a portion of that video, they're going to be seen and heard as a part of this recital. Anyways, I'm super pumped about it, and we've been wanting to talk about it for a while, so we're excited that it's now out there and that we get to talk about it with you guys. Yeah, I can't wait. I'm so happy. So Jeremy Shilley saying, I think it's a really cool idea for a recital. Yeah, I mean, I'm glad we're going to be jumping into this kind of like global, distance musical collaboration that we've been seeing a lot of over the last month or two here as people have been locked down. So what a better time, right? If we can look for a silver lining, what a better time than to participate with each other across the world in such a musical collaborative experience. Now, with that said, I want to move into our lesson because I did get started a few minutes late, and I want to make sure that we have time to get arranging today. Maya says, hey. Hey, Maya. Okay, cool. All right. Oh, the audio's dropping out. Interesting. Uncle Rabbit saying the audio keeps cutting in and out. Is anyone else having that issue? If so, I'll take a minute to make sure I can fix that so you guys can hear me clearly. But in the meantime, what I want to do is switch gears now, and let's take a look over at Sibelius, okay? We've got our, this is the advanced arrangement up right now. And what I want to do actually this week is what I want to do today is try and complete our advanced level arrangement. And so to do that, we're going to have to move a little bit more quickly. And another reason that I want to move a bit more quickly is because I would say the majority of us in the community watching here might be more on the intermediate and rookie side. So I don't want to spend too much time going over advanced level stuff. However, Camille, I know I saw that you're working on the advanced You Raise Me Up, and I'm sure there are a few others out there as well. But I basically want to do more high-level arranging today. I don't want to sit here and necessarily pine over each note. What I'd rather do is look at each section and make some decisions section-wide decisions, all right? I'll show you what I mean in just a minute when we jump into it here. But I just want to alter our goal a little bit here for the month. We've spent a lot of time with this song, and by no means am I saying that we should wrap it up sooner than later, for any other reason than because we're now in this world of You Raise Me Up, and I really want to make sure that we're given both the spotlight to it, but also I want to make sure that we're offering a space to discuss it, right? Especially because we've got all these different levels of arrangements for that song, and our theme for the month is arranging. So I thought, hey, let's just take a quick pivot and shift into focusing the rest of our month on that song. So if we do that, then that means today what I'd like to do is revise our goal. I'd like to stay higher level on advanced. I'd like to try and get a game plan for what I'm going to do to finish it, and I'd like to walk you through my process and my thinking on that. What I'd like to do after that is shift over into rookie and do the same, all right? What I'll then do is basically take our existing composition and I'll make sure that it's appropriate for intermediate level arrangement, which I think it mostly already is. Maybe it already is complete. But that can be our last step. And then what I'd like to do is next week shift into looking at some more arranging stuff in the context of You Raise Me Up, all right? So let's talk through for 5 minutes here, just for a minute, on our A section, all right? And this is what we came up with last week. Briefly, I'll remind us, we decided we wanted to try something that had a combination of a block chord feel for fullness in the left hand and the momentum and the rhythm of a broken chord pattern. So to do both of those at once, we kind of came up with what we see here on screen. And maybe I'll zoom in here just a sec to make sure you guys can see it clearly. Not bad. All right. So it turned out like this. That's right. All right, cool, cool. Excuse me as I dust that off there a little bit. But that's right. We also talked about adding some harmony notes in the right hand and some octaves to accentuate, right? So that's where we netted out there. Now let's zoom back out because I want to talk about higher level section stuff, all right? So let's look at our whole thing. So this is our first A and our second A, right? Remember, our form is A, A, B, A. So that means we're doing a first A and then we're repeating it in A. But it's different enough that we're calling it a new section. It's like A1, A2, B, and then A3 if we want to get technical, I think. But we're still calling them versions of A because they're close enough in relation. So first of all, what we need to do here is figure out what we're going to do for our first, oh, excuse me, I didn't even highlight all of it. Our first and second ending. That's what we need to figure out. That's one thing. And I would recommend that we stay on a path that we were headed with the beginning here, right? With the stuff that we were working on last week. So we'll get into that in a minute. But then here is the B section. And I'm going to zoom out a little bit more for us. Okay. Oh, and you know what? I realized I forgot to put a double bar line here. At the end of the B section. Boom, there it is. All right, so B goes from here to here. That's our B section. We're going to have to come up with some stuff there. Then we get back into our final A, and that is here. All right, so we've got basically 2.5 things left to do on this. We've got to decide, one, probably the biggest thing is, how do we want to treat the B section? So we should probably start with that. The next thing we need to do is figure out what we want to do for the variations of the A section, which we've already worked on. We need to figure out the variations of the first A section for first ending and second ending. And then we need to figure out what we want to do for the final A section at the end. All right? So let's jump into the B section. And I'm going to check in on the chat just to make sure I'm not missing you guys, because I want to, okay. Yeah, I want to make sure that if you guys are giving me suggestions of things to do in the arrangement here, I'm not missing them. All right, cool. Looks like audio is okay for some. Okay, great. Hey, Mike Anderson in the building. Hey, Dad. Hey, Pops. Saint or Sin. Hey, my friend. Thanks for joining us. I'm not sure I recognize your handle in the chat, so thanks for joining. Is this your first time with a playground piano lesson? All right, so you guys throw some ideas out in the mix in the chat as we go through this, but I'm going to focus my attention now on getting our B section feeling a little bit more advanced level, considering where we were in our A section. All right, so let's do it. And I'll briefly play what our B section is. I think you can see all that on screen, yeah? Okay, here's what we have so far for B. See if I can see that. It's pretty small. And this is going to be pickups into B. Okay, I think that was close enough. I already have a couple of ideas. So I want to keep what we're doing in the left hand for the first half of the B section. Actually, I want to keep that pretty much intact. I like what we're doing there. We don't have to make it more complicated just because it's for advanced. In other words, you can still find some simple passages or simpler passages in advanced level music. But I want to do something different in the second half of the bridge. So basically, until we get to here-ish, I want to spice up that left hand a little bit, perhaps. We'll talk about something that we can do in this section that adds to the effect we were trying to create with the actual music that we wrote. And then I definitely want to make this a little bit more ornamental in here. Okay? So let's start down here with the beginning of our B section. Okay? So I'm going to go ahead and write, we'll figure out what we want to do with the second ending here, but I'm going to write octaves for all of these in the right hand. And in Sibelius, by the way, the shortcut there is just you hit 8 to go an octave above, or you would hit Shift 8 to go an octave below, like that. All right, now when we do this, it's easy to just kind of move on, but we don't want to forget to double check. If we add an octave lower in the right hand, let's go make sure we're not accidentally crossing over into the left hand in a bad way. All right, and to do that, we would just check on what are our highest notes in the left hand part here. Looks like we get up to an E right here. In the right hand, our lowest note looks like it's this G. So I think we're okay. So now let me play this and see if you guys like it with octaves. So this is pickups into it again. Ready? I kind of like that. I have no problems with it, I could say. I guess there's one thing that I am wanting here. And this is, by the way, here's a quick tip. As you're arranging, listen to yourself for ideas. But then as you're executing your ideas and you're listening to them, you should listen with a critical ear and say, what do I want to have happen here? And just because it was your idea doesn't mean that you have to say it was a good one, right? You could say, now that I tried that, I wanted something else there and I didn't get it yet, so I'm going to try something else. So what I was thinking there is I liked the right hand, okay. But when we do this thing, right, when we finally land on this, boom, it feels a little empty in the left hand, right? Especially when we do the alternating effect between measures between the hands. When the right hand then does this, that's octaves, and the left hand's playing block chords, so that becomes a very full and loud measure worth of notes. But then in the next measure, and the one before it, we go back to single note in the left hand, and the range is quite high for the left hand. So what I maybe would consider doing here is finding a way to keep what we've got in these measures, but in the measures where we're doing something like this, in the left hand, I want to widen that and lower it. So something like this. get into that space. What do people think of that? I'm going to go to the chat briefly and see how we're doing. All right, Stu's saying, in the B section, could we make the left hand more complicated with ascending and descending arpeggios? Yep, I think you were already a step ahead of me there, Stu. When we get into the minor, part of what I want to do there is something like this. Right, something like that. I don't know why. I think it's the minor 1 to the minor 4 that makes me want that. That kind of like... Anyways, I think we maybe can try some of that in a sec. But Stu, hey, I love all suggestions should be thrown out. Oh, see, I see what you're saying. I'm catching up on the chat, so I probably went a different direction. That's funny. Camille wants to add more harmony in the right hand. Okay, so not just octaves. Fair enough. Okay. Could we try making it a little bit heavier, darker? So, okay, Sarah, with the V8. So Sarah, I think what we're going to end up doing as when we get into the second half of our bridge here is the music itself gets kind of darker, right? Because we go minor. So I don't necessarily want to get dark here in this section that comes before the dark harmony. But great suggestion. I would say, because we've already started to go down this path, let's keep going in the way we have. Definitely not a silly question, Sarah. With the V8, how long do you play it for? For the octaves? Oh, interesting. I think this is a good question here, Sarah, because when we're talking about quarter notes, or even half notes when we're playing octaves, we can't really hold the notes for their full duration when we're playing octave melodies, because by nature, you have to pick up both fingers and then push both fingers down again to walk through a scale, for example, in octaves. Whereas if you're playing single note melodies, you can be legato, right? No space in between them. But with octave melodies, you can't. Right? They sound more staccato. So there's some things you can do, like you can use your pedal, but it's a bit more of an advanced technique with the pedal because you have to pick it up and down a lot more to get the feeling of a legato scale without the blur of blending the sustain pedal for all of it, like this. We don't want that, but we also don't want... So this is actually something good to practice if you want to work on something like this, is you can try going up in octaves, up a scale, and using your sustain pedal for each note individually to make it feel legato, like this. It's hard when you go faster. I don't know if you can hear my foot, but my pedal's doing this. For up and down for each note. All right, back to the chat here. How we doing? Saint or sin. I really like how you talk out what you're thinking. You learn so much just watching the process. Great to hear, my friend. I always love some reinforcing, positive feedback on the approach we take here. I could show you a song or an arrangement and just teach it to you note by note, but I feel like you guys have the skills you need to do that on your own or in the app. So what I like to do with these, especially because I can include you here in the conversation, I like to, give you guys something in a different format and share more of the thinking behind stuff, because I can explain it to you here and you can ask questions. So anyways, I'm glad you're digging it. All right, let's get back to it. So let's switch scenes back to Sibelius here. And I'm going to take into account the comment about adding some harmony in the right hand. So let me play through this for a second, and then we'll make a decision. Okay, we'll get there. So I'm thinking melody-wise. Yeah, we could do that in the right hand. So basically what I'm doing there is kind of what we talked about last week, actually, and the week before. We talked about adding a harmony note under the right-hand melody, right? And if you remember here, we added an F underneath this note because an F is the 5th scale degree in the key of B flat, which is the key we're in here in this section. And when we put the 5th scale degree note of the key underneath your melody in the right hand, it can often sound really good, right? In fact, it will work 100% with any of the chords or melody notes in that scale. That's how great it is, and versatile it is. So what I was doing down here, keeping that theme going, I kind of liked what I was doing on these measures. Instead of doing these in octaves, here's what I did. It might be easier if I just type it out here. Yeah, so I'm basically taking an octave, I'm alternating in the right hand between octaves and then kind of doing that 5th scale degree underneath. All right, so let me write it out for us. Instead of a B natural octave underneath, I'm keeping a D. So guys, check this out. We're in the key of G now. We've just entered the key of G, as you can see with this, this sharp and this key signature change. So the 5th scale degree in the key of G is D. That was me playing all the notes basically in the G scale with the D underneath. The D will always work. So I've got a D here now underneath our melody note. That's what I'm thinking there, right? So that's a beautiful interval, by the way, of a major 6th. And I love when you hear something that outlines a major scale using 6ths. Oh, excuse me, wrong key. Right, isn't that nice? So what I'm going to do here is I'm going to play a D underneath that melody note. And then for this part, I'm going to keep the D underneath the whole time. So this note will be D, and this note will be D. So D is going to be like our thumb anchor point here. And then in the next measure, it's a C major chord. But I'm going to keep the D underneath in the right hand because, again, that 5th scale degree of the key of G, D, right, that works over any chord. Any chord in that key, I should say. So I'm going to keep D, and that means in this, first of all, I'm going to add another note in between here because this is not a very friendly interval when you play that on its own without something to bridge it together like that, which happens to be a G. That is the, that's in the key, that's in the C chord too, by the way. So we know that'll work. So there's a G, and I'm also going to add that same G into here to keep that consistent. G, oh, what just happened? Why is that saying G natural? Okay. All right, now, just in the right hand, actually, let me get the pattern going over here, too. Bum, oops, bum, 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 bum. And then we go to an E in the melody up here. So I'm going to change this note down here to an E as well. I don't really want to play a D and an E. That's not going to sound very, very comfy together. And the reason is, one reason is, again, there's too big of a gap here between the notes. We might need a bridge note there to make those harmonies sound a little bit better together. But for now, I'm going to do this. I'm going to put the G in the middle, like I have done on all of these chords so far. And then I've got D's on the bottom of all of these quarter note measures in the right hand. So here's the right hand from here to here. Ready? Actually, I'll do pickups to it. Boom. I'm super happy with that. I don't know about you guys. But in the meantime, I'm going to do what we talked about here too, and we're going to drop down. Oops. Drop that down an octave. So now we're going to get to this pattern of 1, 5, 3. Ooh, it might be nice to keep that pedal point down there too. In other words, do the C major chord. Oh, no, you know what? I've been calling it C major, but it's actually a G sus, how we have it written. That's interesting. Those actually share most of the same notes, so they're kind of interchangeable. However, this is going to be what this sounds like when we put it all together. Sorry. Okay. Yeah, that's what I'm thinking. That kind of makes it sound more like that G sus vibe too. So we'll go G. This will be an E. And then this will be a C. That's it. That's a pretty cool part right there. So we'll do the same thing again here. And then here we should actually drop down to a C root, I believe, which I will put down here. And then I'm going to jump right up to the E. Yep, and then right up to the C. Okay, so now here is what we got going on for both hands. This is going to be pretty cool, I think. And actually, why don't I go ahead and just change this now, too. I like the pickups to also have that D underneath. So then we get... It's nice, right? All right, so here it is. Ready? That might be kind of cool too. If we're kind of lush like that and we've expanded our range for the first half of the B section, could be nice to all of a sudden we get really small and quiet in here. And then there's a little nod to Stu there. We'll see if we can get into that in just a minute. But that's what we're working with right now. So let me check in on the chat, see what you guys think. All right, so Charles Smith saying you can throw in a few. Oh, here, let me switch over so you guys can see. You can throw in a few slide notes in the right hand, spice it up that way. Yeah, yeah. Camille, it's a notation shortcut. You play the notes octave higher than you're actually written. Oh, you're talking 8 VA. Okay, cool. Thank you. All right. Okay. A slide note is playing the upper note slightly before the melody note. Interesting. Oh, I see what you're saying. Something like this. Something like that. Like a little sliding off of the black key down to the white key as like a grace note, right? I see. Yeah, that's cool. All right. So, Warren W., as you are you working on the right? As you're working on the right hand, some of the notes reminded me of the carousel waltz. What are the copyright infringement issues? It's a fair point. I actually don't know that, but it's an interesting question because as you are composing or arranging, you should be aware of these kinds of things, and you don't want to obviously copy something intentionally and then put your name on it and say that it's yours, right? Of course. In fact, in some cases, that's against the law. I don't know that there actually exists a definitive blanket rule for this stuff, honestly, because music in a way is very subjective. And also, you can't really own a scale. Nobody owns the rights to, to this melody. I don't think so, at least, because at a certain point, you just have the building blocks of all music, right? So if something's copyrighted to that level, you couldn't make anything new, right? So the result is that it's kind of a gray area, and we have cases in courts at the moment and upcoming where this kind of thing will be battled out and a precedent will be set. A recent one that was more high profile was a Katy Perry lawsuit where she was sued for using something that was copyrighted by someone else. There's a handful of higher profile cases like that, but often the decision is being made kind of by people who are not necessarily musicians on the jury, and it's just kind of an interesting situation in general. So anyways, I'm rambling now, but it's a good question because if you just have something that's 2 or 3 notes that kind of sounds like a song, you're probably okay. But if I put in my song here something like this, sorry, I was going to try and put in a Star Wars thing. I could just say it without having to play it. But if I just put in a Star Wars riff, like in the middle of our composition, we're plucking that out and putting it over here. That's a no-no, obviously. But if something kind of sounds like something, in some ways that can be a good thing, right? You want to evoke that same feeling of a song, but obviously with different notes and rhythm combinations, so you avoid copyright issues. Good question. Charles Smith says, are you going to add any chord extensions? You know what? Probably not here for a couple of reasons. One is because I wouldn't say this is a jazz song per se. And when I think of upper extensions, I think about altering a chord, and I think about adding things like 13s and sharp 11s, things like that. Now, of course, there is a simpler version of that where we add, on a major chord, you can add the 2, right? So on a G chord, instead of just playing the 3 notes in that chord, you could add the 2. And that's an extension in a way, and we could think about that. And if we consider those to be chord extensions, then we actually have quite a bit of those in our arrangement already. So that's pretty cool. And Camille's got a good point. Until we hit 1 billion watches on YouTube, we're safe in relation to copyright. That's fair, yeah. I mean, in some ways, Playground, of course, has to worry about that with some of the bigger names that we are associated with. We all want to make sure everyone's playing by the rules, of course, and we do. But I hear your point, like our song in our chat room here. Yeah, I don't think we need to worry too much about it. That was more of a note just in general as you're arranging on your own. Just be mindful of that so that you're not, it sounds obvious, but some people may need to hear it. Don't rip off other artists. You can definitely be inspired by other artists and other songs, of course. But yeah, I don't have to say that to you guys. All right. Disney loves to sue. That's funny. Yeah, let's not get our little group here in any kind of legal trouble. Okay, so I'm happy with what we got. I'm taking your guys' kind of lack of critique on this area to be a sign that you're good to go on that as well. So that's how we're going to treat the first half of our B section here. Let's take a little peek up here at the second half. And Stu, I'll tell you what, for the sake of time, I'm going to add in something that we talked about into here later this week, so that when we kick off, before we kick off our next lesson where we look at You Raise Me Up arrangements, I'll send these out to the Facebook group as I've been doing with the compositions. And I'll include that in the final arrangement here for advanced. But what I want to do is talk a little bit about the final A section now, because I just want to compare it to what we've got in our opening A section. So, oh, whoops, wrong thing. Opening A section. Remember, we've got this kind of hybrid between block chord and broken chord. Right? So the question we have to ask ourselves is, do we want to do that again? Do we want to change it? Well, here's what I think, for what it's worth. Because we did our A section in the beginning, and then we do a B section that's about equal length, and in the B section, we've completely abandoned that idea, right, in the left hand. We are no longer doing that hybrid block, broken chord, right? So we've changed that, and my ears are kind of hungry as a result. They're kind of hungry to hear that pattern come back. So I actually, as a starting point at least, I want to take this pattern of what we have up here in the first A, and I want to bring it back in our last A. And if you'll allow me just a second here. Okay, so that goes all the way up to, okay, I'll grab it from here to here. All right, now we paste it over here. Boom. That kicked us into a new page. That's cool. By the way, sorry if everything's shaking and and if you hear a loud noise. I got a train that likes to go by my window at the worst times. All right, and I'll tell you what, the changes that we did in the right-hand melody for the first A, I think this was kind of where the group was headed last week anyways, but I don't think people were loving it in the beginning because it's a delicate melody. So what I'd like to do is take what we did over there and instead apply it to the A that comes back at the end. And then go in the beginning, we're going to go back and simplify back to the original melody that we had, which means that we're going to erase those harmony notes, which I just did, and then we're going to erase these lower octaves as well. Oh, wait. These ones, we want to erase the higher octaves. Okay, cool. Now we have our simple melody up front, and when we get to, oh, I keep moving the wrong thing. There we go. We have our simple melody up front, and when we get to the repeat of our A section at the end, now we have our expanded upon melody here. And in fact, I'm going to add a little bit more. I'm going to add an F underneath here, because again, we know that you can add the fifth scale degree of the key that you're in, right, underneath melody notes. Well, we're in the key of B flat again, my friends, so we're going to add Fs underneath, and this is going to make it sound a little bit more kind of gelled together. And what I like about what we have here, remember here we did a G underneath, not an F. So we're going to be setting up the expectation with all of these measures that there's going to be an F underneath, right, the melody. But then when we get to here, it's going to change and become a G, which will be really satisfying. It'll be like this. So uplifting, right? Because it's a whole step higher than what our ear was expecting. I like that. All right, and then we've got octaves here. Let's keep the octaves going. So we're going to go. Oh, sorry. Where am I? No, actually, I don't think I want that there, but I'll add it here just to take that over into the next measure. Let's bring this up an octave. What do we say? Now we got. And at this point, I think it might be wise to start getting a little bit more chilled out. And maybe we leave it as it is, because we already wrote it in a way where it kind of naturally chills out. So our new A section now goes like this. This is pretty cool. Yeah, I guess, well, for now I'll just play all this. Ready? So we've just done our little... Now here comes our last A. Excuse me. Okay, that's pretty cool. I like the octaves there. So. And I kind of want to get to chords here. In advanced level arrangements, you can definitely get away with more variety. So I might explore that as well, getting some chords in here just to kind of halt the momentum. But I'm going to leave it there for right now. And I'm going to go ahead and finish this advanced arrangement on my end just by adding those few extra little bells and whistles and finishing my first and second ending in a way that I like. I'll deliver that to the Facebook group sometime this week. Okay? So now I'm going to see if I can pull up the rookie arrangement. Where is it? And let's spend 5 or 10 minutes taking a peek at that. Let me just swap this over. Okay, all right, I got it up now. Cool. Okay, so remember, guys, we did single notes in the left hand, right, for all this. We boiled it down to roots, and then we changed some of the range of those notes so that we could fit it all into one clean hand position. I think we did a good job of that. And so basically, this one's going to require a lot less work on our end, because instead of coming up with new things that are potentially more complicated than what we wrote originally, instead, we're basically just stripping down the stuff we wrote originally. So it's a lot easier and it's a lot more straightforward. For example, when we get into here in the B section, we should talk about what we want to do, but essentially what's different here, right, is that the left hand has rhythm. But we obviously don't want to be doing full chords. So the question is, do we do... That's my starting point. That's what I think is going to work. We may not love it, but we're going to bring that to a single note G, and then we're going to do that in these as well. So that would sound like this for the B section. I think that's perfect, you guys. It sounds exactly like the essence of the song to me. It keeps everything in a nice position, keeps the rhythm going, the pulse. I think that's what we do. All right, and then here, I think we want to, I guess we could go back to G's here. Why not? Let's keep that G pedal point going. Yep. And we're going to keep that pattern going right into here. So this now is going to become a quarter note, and we're going to do broken pattern through here as well. And then we're going to go next measure, keep the G's going. Excuse me, guys. All right, back to G's. All right, so that's the idea. So when we get into here, yeah, so when we get into the minor section of our B section, we play. We're gonna have to figure that. I'll figure that part out as well. But we want to get this sweeping arpeggio type thing represented in the rookie arrangement as well, even though it is pretty difficult on its own. So that becomes another challenge. But you guys, that's the gist of it here, right? So for rookie, you're boiling it down to the essence, whether that means the harmonic essence. What's the essence of the harmony? What do we need to do in the left hand? Whether that means the melodic essence. What notes can we change a little bit, but what notes do we have to keep the same? Maybe it's an important lyric or it's in the hook of the song. Or whether it's stripping down to the rhythmic essence, right? Those are the factors that we have to consider when we're arranging for rookie levels, especially the way that we do things here at Playground Sessions, all right? Now, of course, when we get to the final ending here, the A section, what I'm going to try and do for beginners is do as much copying and pasting as I can. Now, I don't mean to say that it's like not creative and we haven't thought it through, but there's something we want to really think about here for our rookie friends, and that is that when you have to relearn something slightly different, it's basically like relearning a whole new thing from scratch, because you've got a muscle memory and a shape kind of like identification for it one way, and if it changes, you can get thrown off from it easily. So for rookie level arrangements, it's important that we try and give people repeated sections so that when they learn that section and then they go learn a different section and then they come back and they see that section again, they just have to refresh their memories instead of learning something new, all right? So I will do my best to try and keep the third A the same as the first and second, or as close as I can. And I think that's pretty much all that I would do here, guys. I'm going to get rid of the 8VA as well because this is rookie here, and I remember why we did this. I think, Stu, we were exploring an ending here that we decided would be better for a more advanced arrangement. So I'll clean that up as well. But that's the gist. You guys have any questions for me on this? Let me get back to the chat and check in. All right. Cool. Okay, so we're still talking legal stuff. Hopefully we're not getting worried about it. We were just messing around. We're totally fine. Deborah. Hey, Deborah. I just saw this on YouTube. I subbed and liked. Deborah, that's awesome. So you're new to the YouTube channel, it sounds like, but you use the app. Very, very cool. So, Deborah, what I do with this group is we get together on Wednesday evenings. Occasionally we'll do a Sunday afternoon as well. And we get together and we hang out and we talk and we do little music lessons like this. And I ask the community to vote each month on what topic we get into. The group voted on arranging. So this month we're talking about techniques for arranging and the thought processes that go into arranging piano music for different difficulty levels. Specifically, some of the things that we here as Playground Sessions do as arrangers. So it's great to see you in the mix. I'm glad you're here. Have you started the You Raise Me Up global recital prep yet? That's my next question to you. Okay, Stu, yes, loving it. Expanding the melody in the last A section adds real emphasis to the melody. Yep. Awesome. Good. Then end with a big finish. Michael Anderson, Stu, you have really great input. Yeah, he does. It's true. Stu says, besides, Phil knows me well enough to ignore me if necessary. I wouldn't dream of it, Stu. We love your input. Charles Smith, Stu Schrodinger. Hey, my dad just bought Sibelius, starting to learn. Very cool. What do you guys use for notation? Anyone else? I know some of us use MuseScore. MuseScore is great, especially because it's free. But even aside from it being free, it still is a nice tool. All right, trying to keep up with you guys here. Yeah, no quantum physics in this chat. At the most, we will probably get into some math because there's math related to music. Hey, Elta. Are ledger lines difficult for rookies? That's a great question, and it has to do with arranging for rookies. Thank you, Elta. That's a great one. Let's get into that. Ledger lines. Now, for those who don't know, let me switch back over to Sibelius and I can show you. A ledger line is, I'm going to take this last note. As I move it up, do you see how there are all these lines? These are ledger lines. So a note can be on different ledger lines or between them on the spaces between the ledger lines, right? Now you tell me, is that harder than playing this note? I would say that it's not harder to play, but it's 100% harder to read, right? A note is just a note. Is this note any easier to play than this note? I don't think so. You push it down with one finger, you got it. But is it harder to read? You better believe it, right? If you're trying to count all those lines up, the fact is you just don't see those notes as often in your reading music experience. So you're slower to recognize them. We all are. I'm not saying you. We all are. So here's what we think about ledger lines. If we think that rookie players are going to be reading the music to learn it, we avoid ledger lines when we can. And to do that, we'll change the range of a melody. Like right now, this note, I'll just bring it down an octave. Whoops, wrong shortcut. Boom. I could also just bring it down another octave. Same note, it's a B. Or actually, a B flat. I forgot the key we were in. But yeah, you can use changing of range to get stuff out of ledger lines. That'll help because it's intimidating to read notes that high up on the staff. However, if someone's going to be learning by rote or learning, for example, by watching my videos and copying my hands, then I would say it's not as big of a deal to have notes in ledger lines. I would say that if you can watch my hand play these 4 notes and copy them, you could probably do the same with these 4 notes and do the same with these. It's the same 4 notes, just moving them up an octave. Now, if I put that in front of you and asked you to read this, it would be super high up in the ledger lines, and that would be harder. So you have to think about the context in which the performer or the musician that you're arranging for will be learning this and will be playing this. I've had to do some arranging, I'm sure Andrew has too, for people who they don't really even look at it until the gig. I arrange something and we pull it up and people are sight reading the arrangement. Okay, I play with musicians sometimes, or I've written for musicians that can do that. And in fact, they prefer that. They don't want to rehearse it ahead of time. Long story short, if you know that's the context in which your arrangement is going to be performed, you better not give someone something that's hard to read, right? It better be as easy as possible to read. Now, if you know you're going to be rehearsing with a band for a whole month, and you're not going to be using sheet music, but instead you're going to just be learning it together and teaching it via rote, for example, then you could write music way up here or way down here because you'll have time to teach it to people without notation, which then ledger lines doesn't matter, and because you'll have time to rehearse it with people as well. So it kind of depends on the context, but in general, the short answer is, yeah, for rookies, let's try and keep stuff in the grand staff if possible, with the exception of going, you know, I would say the friendly cutoff point would be 2 ledger lines above the treble staff, which conveniently is C, or in the bass clef, 2 ledger lines below the staff, which also conveniently is C. All right, so keep it in the C's. Sounds like something, but it's not. Keep it in the C's. Okay, you guys, I think we should call it a night. I've actually got to get back to work, and I'm going to be recording some more You Raise Me Up stuff. So again, we're pumped about that, and I really want to hear from all of you as you make your way through learning your part for the global recital that we're going to do with Quincy and all of that. So keep me posted. Check in daily. We're going to be putting content out daily, and I want to hear how you guys are getting along with it. In the meantime, well, let's leave it there. next week, we're going to get into some You Raise Me Up stuff, but we're still going to be looking at it through our arranging lens, okay? And lastly, before I leave you, I want to say I talked to David Sides, and he said he was definitely down to do a Q&A session with me, so I'm going to try and bring him in to like a window here, and we're going to be able to talk with each other. We're each going to be at our pianos and be able to play some things as well. And we're going to have some fun with it. I'm going to keep you posted on what date that's going to be. But keep an eye out. David and I are going to do a little bit of a back and forth, and we'll open it up to a big Q&A session. I think it was Sarah last week that had the great idea of just doing a whole Q&A lesson, a whole video where that's all we do. So David's interested as well, and we're going to try it. We love hanging with you guys. We love our community. That's you guys, the Playground Sessions community of students. You guys rock. So we're looking forward to it. We'll keep you posted on a date for that. In the meantime, we'll see you in the Facebook group to talk You Raise Me Up. Good luck with your practicing. I'll see you guys later.